Warning: the following video will contain spoilers. If you wish to avoid spoilers, please exit this video now. Otherwise, please enjoy the video. Thank you.
How's it going, YouTube? David here, and I'm back with another episode of the Recap Show. And today, I'm going to be recapping Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. For those of you who skipped like the beginning, I put a spoiler warning because there's going to be spoilers in this. I just want to let you guys know right now. I'm going to go ahead and play my little spoiler warning one more time.
Warning: the following video will contain spoilers. If you wish to avoid spoilers, please exit this video now. Otherwise, please enjoy the video. Thank you.
I had a lot of fun with this movie. It really was. It was really a well done movie. Now, it's not a perfect movie. It had its flaws, you know, that sort of thing. Like all movies, there's no such thing as a perfect movie. There's really well done movies, but there's no such thing as a perfect movie. No, don't start a flame war in the comments section over that shit. Anyway, so it's really hard to like pick and choose what I'm going to talk about. One thing that caught me off guard was how funny the movie was. There was a lot of humor in it, like more than I thought there was going to be. Especially considering how dark it is, because it is a pretty dark movie. Like, the whole story is just, it's dark. And given what they talk about, like the imagery that they show you, and even some comments from the creators themselves, that you kind of get the feel as to why it was so dark. And like, the movie starts off with, it's Poe Dameron, Oscar Isaac's character. He's talking with this old guy, and I missed it or I didn't recognize him, because I did not recognize that old man that he was talking to. It's implied that he was a member of the Resistance before in the original trilogy, but it just completely went over my head. I either forgot, I didn't hear his name, but this guy knew details about the characters. And what do you call it? I can't believe I forgot what they were called. Oh yeah, the First Order shows up and they start, like, you know, attacking everything. Why? Because this old guy happened to have some information as to where Luke Skywalker was hiding out, because Luke Skywalker was training a new generation of Jedi when one of his pupils turned against him and like either slaughtered them all or he just destroyed everything. And then Luke, he felt it was all entirely his fault, and he turned to the dark side. I don't know why I was going to say that. He turned away and he left, and he's been living in seclusion on his own for a long time. And so Luke Skywalker's out of the picture completely, and the First Order is trying to locate him to destroy him because he's the last Jedi, and they want to completely eradicate him before he starts, you know, teaching more people. Because as long as Luke Skywalker exists, there's a chance that the Jedi Order could see a resurgence. So when they find out that the rebellion, when they find out that the rebellion has information on Luke Skywalker, they immediately try and take it. And you immediately get a sense of Finn's character. He doesn't have a real name. He just has a serial number, which is FN2187 or something or other. Yeah, it started with FN. And Poe Dameron's the one that names him, Oscar Isaac's character. We'll get to that in a second. So anyway, so they show up and they completely storm the village. They gather up all of the civilians, and then Oscar Isaac is like in the back trying to hide. He's trying to get away. He has the secret map to Luke Skywalker, and the old man that he was talking to confronts the main villain, Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren shows up, and he's just like being a badass, and he's talking to the old man, and he's like, you know, you better tell me where the plans are. You know, I'm gonna find Luke Skywalker and kill him. And then he starts saying, you know, that's your lineage and stuff like that. He starts hinting as to, you know, what's going on and all of that. Who Kylo Ren's real father is, and how he can't deny his heritage. And he's like, oh, I know more than you think. And So they're storming the village and all that, and you get a glimpse of Finn's character because he is completely shell-shocked. That was his first battle as a stormtrooper ever, because they mention it later on in the movie, but apparently they take you from your family and they train you as a stormtrooper, you know, hand-to-hand combat, all of that. And that was his first deployment, because before he worked in sanitation, he was literally just like a janitor, and before they deployed him for the first time. So he gets deployed and he's horrified by what's happening, and then Kylo Ren is like, kill the villagers, and all of them start opening fire and they shoot these innocent people, and he's just he's just watching horrified. He can't even do it. He raises his gun and then he puts it down because he's not going to do it. And so you get a good glimpse into his character, because, like, you know, he's completely horrified by everything that's going on. He's completely gone against his programming. It's just, you know, he's just absolutely against the First Order. So Poe Dameron gets captured. He puts the map into BB-8, the little droid, and he sends it off. Get out of here! And it runs off in Jakku, and it eventually finds Daisy Ridley's character Rey. But Poe Dameron gets captured by Kylo Ren. And this is when some of the comedy comes in, because, like, he was sitting in a chair, presumably about to be tortured by Kylo Ren, and Kylo Ren's like comfortable, and he's like, not really. But the way he did it, his deadpan, was funny. Like, that was a funny comedic moment. And then Kylo Ren starts, you see it in the trailer where he's kind of lowering his hand and he's torturing. Presumably he's like prodding through his mind or something, trying to rip the information out. And he gets the information, because, like, the next scene is he walks out and he's like, it's in a droid BB unit. The plans are inside of it. Like, it's still on Jakku. Go after it, and, you know, so on and so forth. BB-8 meets Rey. Rey is living in she has a shitty living condition. It sucks, and she's essentially like a scavenger. She gets things and then she sells them, and then they give her food for it. It looked like food, because she opened it up and she put it like in water, and it made like bread or some sort of snack to eat. Presumably that's what's been sustaining her, because there's not a lot of stuff on a desert planet. Anyway, so then we cut back to the Star Destroyer. I want to call it a Star Destroyer, but Star Destroyers was the old Empire, not the First Order. They don't really have a lot of them. They spend most of their time on did they even call it the Starkiller Base? Starkiller Base was a giant planet that they literally cannibalized and turned it into like a fucking Death Star. It was literally just the Death Star again. But anyway, so they're on the ship, and Finn immediately shows up and he's like, oh, Master Ren, Kylo Ren wants to talk to this prisoner. And then he takes him and he's like, yo, can you fly one of these things? I'm gonna bust you out of here. And he's like, yeah, I can fly one of these things. And he's like, sweet, let's get the fuck out of here. And they get in and they blast. They're blasting everything. They crash land on Jakku, and Finn gets out of the. He managed to eject his chair, like, you know, like pilots eject their seats to get out of, you know, shitty situations. He wakes up and he's like unconscious. He wakes up and he sees the crash site, and the TIE fighter that they escaped in starts sinking into the sand. The sinking sand was mentioned before, like quicksand, and they said don't go over there, otherwise you'll be, you know, cannibalized by the sand or whatever. And the thing, it just drags down the ship, presumably with Poe in it, and he's like freaking out, no, like, Poe. And then it just explodes, and he's freaked out. He just starts making his way towards any civilization, and he runs into the village of Rey's village, and he has like a jacket and that he took from Poe Dameron. It was right there on the floor, on the ground next to the TIE fighter, and he took it and he's wearing it, and that's how he's recognized, because he's recognized by BB-7 or BB, yeah, whatever. Anyway, so he's recognized by the droid, and it sees him, and it starts chirping. You know, it's kind of like he's replacing R2-D2. You see R2-D2 in the film, but you don't really. He's not awake. He's doing something. Anyway, so BB-7 sees him, starts worrying, starts making buzzing noises and stuff. He alerts Rey. Rey understands him somehow. I don't know if she like speaks binary or whatever, because he's talking to her, and she's like, "What, him?" And then she tracks him. She chases him down. And she chases him down, and she's like, "You're a thief. BB7 says that you stole his Poe Dameron's coat," and he's like, "No, I broke out with Poe Dameron. Unfortunately, he didn't make it. He died in the sands." And they're like, "Oh," and she's like, "Oh, so you're with the Resistance?" And Finn's like, "Yeah, I'm with the Resistance." And so they get chased by the TIE fighters who show up. I guess they managed to track down what's his name, Finn. So they're attacking the little village that's right there, the trading area or whatever it is, the Agora, if you want to call it that. And so they're pretty much blowing it up and everything. And they're like, "Oh, we have to get to that ship." And he's like, "What about that ship?" And she's like, "That's an old hunk of junk. It doesn't work. And let's get to that ship. It's newer." And then it blows up. And then they turn around and let's go to that ship. And it's the Millennium Falcon. That threw me off. I was not expecting that. But yeah, Rey's like, "Yeah, I can pilot this thing." And he's like, "Okay, I'm gonna go down on the guns and I'm gonna shoot." So they're doing all these crazy maneuvers and they're shooting, and they finally escape. And for a second, they're like, "Yeah, we have to make it to the rebellion. We're gonna make the jumps to the light speed." And like again with the comedy, Finn is like arguing with BB7, and he's like, "You have to tell us what the base is," because he's not rebellion. He's not the Resistance at all. He's just an escaped stormtrooper, and he's like, "I just lead us there. You get dropped off with the map. You can stay with her, and then I'll leave. I'll get out of your life." And then he's like, "Where is it?" And then Rey's like, "So where's the base?" And then BB7's like, he whirs out the name of the planet. I forgot the name of the planet. And she's like, "Got it." And she's like inputting it, and then he's like, thumbs up, and then fucking BB7 pulls out a torch, and with the torch lights up like a thumbs up. That was funny. Everybody fucking laughed in the theater. Again, this movie was a lot funnier than I thought it was gonna be. Anyway, so blah blah blah. They get boarded. They think, shit, it's the fucking the First Order. I keep wanting to call them the Empire. Fuck, man. Anyway, so they're trying to they get boarded, and they're like, "Okay, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do?" They're hiding. It's fucking Han Solo. Han Solo shows up. I guess he had a freighter that he managed to get a hold of because he went back to smuggling. And so they meet up. They run into some trouble with some other smugglers, but they manage to get out. And then they go to a new area. I forgot that they didn't mention the name of a planet. They said that they were going to try and get back to the Resistance, but they went to some new character, Roz. Fuck, man, I saw it like an hour ago and I already forgot. Fuck. I should have spent more time gathering my thoughts, but I wanted to get everything down while it was still raw. So they go to this character's house in Alien, and she's running like a bar, like this whole thing. And he's like, "Yeah, she's about 1,000 years old. She's been running this joint for a while. She's seen a lot of stuff. She'll be able to help us out." And so they go there and they're trying to find passage. And Finn's like, "I'm a stormtrooper who just decided he don't want to do it anymore, so I'm just gonna leave." He's leaving with this group of guys, and then Rey, this was an interesting thing. Rey starts hearing children screaming. It sounds like children screaming, to me at least. And she follows it down, and she comes upon a thing, and it's Anakin's lightsaber. Anakin's lightsaber that was given to Luke that he lost on Cloud City when his hand got cut off. They mentioned that too. They're like, Han Solo's like, "How did you get your hands on that? I thought Luke lost it." And she was like, "Yeah, that's a question for another time. I hope that they answer it in episode 8. But anyway, so Rey comes upon it, and she starts having all of these visions. She starts seeing Kylo Ren in the vision, and she sees she's seeing all sorts of stuff, nothing that you really can't make sense of. That scene that was in the trailer where you see the enshrouded figure go like that with his hand, and he's putting his hand on R2-D2. Everybody assumes that it's Luke, but I'm gonna go on a limb and I'm gonna say that that's Anakin, because they do mention that it was Anakin's lightsaber. They say that, yeah, it was his father's, and his father gave it to him, and his father had it for who knows how long as a Jedi before he turned to the dark side. So I think you didn't see anything of Anakin. The only thing that you see from Darth Vader or Anakin is Darth Vader's burnt mask. Like, it was the melted mask, and Kylo Ren is talking to it. But this movie does point out that, yeah, Anakin existed, so they're acknowledging the prequels a little bit. So I think that scene where you see that guy put his hand on R2-D2, I think that's supposed to be Anakin, because Anakin has a robotic hand. And he was in a war. People forget that he was in the Clone Wars. For all we know, that was a snippet from the Clone Wars. And so yeah, so people try to ignore the prequels, but yeah, I'm thinking that was probably Anakin. So yeah, so that's just my take on it. And so Rey is freaked out, understandably so. She's never felt the Force before, at least not in any significant fashion, because the lightsaber was calling out to her. The Force was drawing her to it, and she's like, I don't want to deal with this shit, and she leaves. First Order attacks the cantina, whatever you want to call it. First Order attacks. They're looking for the droid BB-7. They're storming the base. Rey runs off into the thing. Finn notices, oh shit, they're attacking. We have to go and help. So he runs back, and he's helping with the battle. He's shooting and all that. And then the lady is like, "Here, take the lightsaber." And he takes the lightsaber and he's fighting with it. He's doing a pretty good job. At first, I was wondering how the fuck can he fight with a lightsaber, but then he was a stormtrooper, so he was trained in tactical and hand-to-hand combat. Everybody likes to make fun of the stormtroopers. You can't hit anything, but to be fair, they're supposed to be elite warriors. Of course, they're not going to be super marksmen when it comes to the heroes, because they're protected by plot armor. Because the heroes can't die that soon if the writer doesn't want them dead. So yeah, the stormtroopers are actually elite fighters and all of that, but not when it comes to the main characters. So you see Finn, and he's doing a pretty good job. He's keeping up with a lot of with the other stormtroopers, and he's blasting, and he's, you know, attacking them all and all that. And then finally it cuts to Rey, and she is confronted by Kylo Ren. And Kylo Ren is like, "Oh, so you're the girl that I've been hearing so much about." And he's essentially toying with her. She's running away from him because she can't do anything to stop him. And she has him like, he has her like frozen, and he's presumably gonna kill her or something, whatever's gonna happen to him. Whatever's gonna happen to her. And then they're interrupted. "Sir, we've located the I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. They didn't locate BB-7. The rebellion showed up. The rebellion showed up on the planet, and they were protecting them." So they show up. They reclaim they reclaim BB-7. They reclaim Han Solo and Chewbacca and all of these guys. But Kylo Ren manages to knock out with the Force. He just goes like that, and she passes out. And they take Rey. So now Rey is stuck on that planet. They never named the Starkiller Base. It was Starkiller Base, but they didn't name the planet. They turned the whole fucking planet into, which was, come on, that you're pushing it a little bit. They're science fiction, and then they're just fucking with shit. I mean, that thing was it was literally a planet that was hollowed out. It had an atmosphere and everything somehow. Like, there were woods and trees, and it was snowing, and it seemed like a regular planet. Just the entire interior was a battle station or whatever. So yeah, that was still that kind of took me out of it. I thought that was a little ridiculous. And so anyway, she's right there, and she's being tortured by Kylo Ren. That's when he takes off his mask, by the way. He takes it off for the first time to Rey, which I kind of disagreed with. He takes it off again with his father, Han Solo. He takes it off, and they're talking. And I think that would have been the only appropriate time for him to remove his mask, because he takes it off and then he's talking to Rey like, "Oh, did you know, like, it was a weird experience." I think he should have stayed as Kylo Ren. He should not have taken off the mask for that. He should have taken off the mask for his father and you know, all of that. So anyway, so Rey is right there, and they're trying to figure out what they're gonna do, how they're gonna get her back, and they're like, "Oh," and Finn's like, "Oh yeah, this is Starkiller Base, blah blah blah, this is it, this is that, we can disable it by doing this." And then they actually go to the planet, and then he's like, "Yeah, I made all that shit up, I'm only here to save Rey." And they're like, "Wow, what are we gonna do?" And he's like, "The Force will guide us." And he's like, "The Force doesn't work like that, we're not Force sensitive." And everybody, that was another funny scene, everybody was laughing. And so they go in, and they manage to they meet Captain Phasma. We never see her without her mask on, by the way, which is, I think that was pretty cool. We never see Captain Phasma without her mask, and I thought that was good because it adds an air of mystique to her, because like we really don't know what she is exactly. I mean, we get that she's in charge. She's a she's a squad captain. Well, you know, it's in the name. She helps lead, but we don't know like anything about her. She's just this enigmatic figure that we just see off to the side occasionally. And So yeah, so now they're on the Starkiller base. They're waiting on them to lower the shields so they could get on to so the rebellion can like send a fleet excuse me, a squad to attack the base to destroy it before it finishes absorbing the energy from the star. Because this thing, unlike the Death Star, which could, you know, it blows up a planet with a single blast, this thing it's similar to it, but it takes its energy from the sun, from whatever sun it's orbiting, and like you see it like drawing its energy, it's siphoning it away from the star, and somehow that doesn't just cause the star to collapse. It causes, you know, it seems to work just fine, which, and again, like, you know, that's a little fucking extreme. I mean, come on. Anyway, 1 second. So they managed to disable the defenses and all of that, and Rey's escaped. She's using her force abilities that she's developing very, very quickly, by the way. She's like literally the first time you ever see her use the force, besides the vision that she had when she obtained the lightsaber, it's literally there's a stormtrooper and she's like, "You're gonna let me out of here." I don't know how she knows, I guess because they mentioned that there are stories about what happened. So I'm assuming that she's heard about the Jedi mind trick. She's just like, "Yeah, you're gonna let me out of here and you're gonna uncuff me and you're gonna leave the door open." And the stormtrooper's like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna do that." And then she's like, "You're going to let me go and you're just gonna walk out of here and leave the door open behind you." And he's like, "I'm gonna let you go and I'm gonna leave the door open behind me." And he's walking away and she's like, "And you're gonna leave your weapon?" And he's like, "I'm gonna leave my weapon right here." They managed to pull off the comedy very well right there, and I thought it was really funny. So did a lot of other people, but yeah. And then throughout the whole thing, she's apparently, even Kylo Ren mentions she's only just starting to use her powers, but if the longer it takes to find her, she'll be more and more dangerous. So apparently she can figure it out quick as she goes along, which I'm not a fan of. I believe that if, you know, you're supposed to work for your abilities. You can't just be like, "Oh, I have these powers, I'm good at them already." It's something that also pissed me off about the original trilogy. Luke had no training whatsoever. He did a couple of the things with Ben, and then Ben dies, and then he's literally with the rebellion as a pilot and engineer, and that's it. He doesn't receive any more training, and then he meets Yoda, and he's with Yoda for a few days at most, you know, because like, I really don't understand how he was able to just go with Yoda for a couple of days, and then he was able to fight Vader. And not only that, after he beats Vader and he goes into seclusion, he's by himself. You can't train by yourself like that. You have to train against other people and droids and all of that. The Jedi used to use all sorts of like technology to help them train their abilities and all that. And then all of a sudden he's as good as Vader and he can beat Vader. I never understood that progression, and Rey's going through the exact same thing. At least she has a master now. Luke is going to teach her, and hopefully by the time we see her in the next movie, she'll be a full-fledged Jedi, at least a Padawan, at least up there in skill. I mean, she was able to fight. I'm getting ahead of myself. So Rey is free. They managed to disable the thing. They're attacking the base. They meet up, and then what's his name? Han Solo and Kylo Ren have a confrontation, and they're on a bridge in the middle of the base. It's like a long bridge, you know, how cliche. And Han screams out what I understood to be Ben. I heard Ben. Could be wrong. Maybe he said Ren, because a lot of people were like, "Did he say Ben?" You know, maybe we heard wrong and he actually called out to Ren, but I heard Ben. So I'm thinking that this guy's name is Ben Solo, or Ben Organa, however they named him. But Han and Leia's son, I think his name is Ben, which I guess they meant that to be a throwback to the expanded universe, or they call it Legends now, because Ben Skywalker was Luke's son, Luke and Mara Jade's son, and he was the one that they named Ben. And I thought that made sense, because it doesn't make sense for Leia and Han to name their son Ben after Ben Kenobi, because that's where the name comes from. It comes from Ben Kenobi. Leia never met Ben, and Han always kind of thought of him as like a goofy old man. He didn't really have respect for the Jedi until Luke became a full-fledged Jedi. when Luke was already a badass, he was like, oh yeah, I'm Jedi, you're pretty cool. He didn't really think much of Obi-Wan, or Ben as he was known in the original trilogy. So it didn't make sense for me for them to name him Ben. If he wanted to have a throwback, if J.J. Abrams wanted a throwback to the expanded universe, they should have kept his name as Jason, because Jason Solo in the expanded universe is the son of Han and Leia, and he turned to the dark side and became Darth Caedus. Anyway, that's a whole other issue. They have a confrontation, and he's like, son, just come home. We miss you. We just want you home. It doesn't matter. We forgive everything that you've done. Just come home. No more fighting. And then, for a second, it looks like Kylo Ren is going to do it. Kylo Ren's like, I have to do this, and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, Snoke is just using you. And they just have this confrontation, and all of a sudden, he's holding the lightsaber. He dropped his helmet, and then you see it. It's off screen, but it turns on, and you see it come out of Han's back. Kylo Ren kills Han Solo. He kills his father. Oh my god! Everybody was fucked up in the theater. That shit. Oh god, that I'm getting a little misty-eyed just thinking about it. That was a sad scene. I haven't seen a lot of Adam Driver, but just that scene, the emotional range that he gave me, I think he's a really good actor just based off of that. I've seen him in a couple of other projects. I've seen him in like Law and Order SVU before. I always thought, he's an okay actor. I know he does Broadway. He's done Broadway, so you know that he's got professional, he has like technical skill. But I've never seen him in enough to judge whether or not he was a good actor. And in my opinion, he is a good actor just based on that scene. And Han dies. And then shit hits the fan. The Wookiee has gone crazy. Chewbacca, he responds as well as about as you would expect Chewbacca to react to see his friend die. And so the shit hits the fan. They all get outside. Then, Kylo Ren confronts Finn and Rey. Finn fights Kylo Ren, and he's doing a pretty good job. Again, he's been trained. He knows hand-to-hand combat and apparently sword fighting and all that, and he does a pretty decent job until Adam Driver, Kylo Ren, uses the Force, knocks him out, and he's doing all this, and then he manages to get the upper hand, and he like slices him up pretty damn good. And actually, my bad. Rey was the one that got knocked out because he force pushed her into a tree, and she's knocked out. So Finn is the one that's fighting Adam Driver, Kylo Ren, and then he gets disarmed, and Kylo Ren gets the upper hand and cuts up Finn pretty badly. He didn't actually like cut him up, but he got him like on the arm. He cut him up he cut up his back like straight up. It looked pretty superficial. Like he didn't fall in half, but so Finn is out. And Kylo Ren is like, that lightsaber belongs to me, and he sees it off into the snow, and he tries to call it to him with the Force, but he's having trouble. And then it zooms past him, and then it goes into Rey's hands, and she activates the lightsaber. We've seen Rey fight, so we know that she is good with hand-to-hand combat, and she's good with weapons. So I don't have a problem with her fighting Kylo Ren as well as she did. I thought she did a really good job. We know that she's a badass, and she proved it against Kylo Ren. And Kylo Ren is like battling her, and he's like, you're strong, but you don't have a teacher. I'll teach you the ways of the Force. And then she's like the Force, and so I guess she starts channeling the Force. And she was like, she managed to beat him back down, and then the planet starts falling apart because it's being torn apart from the inside because they destroyed the machine by now, and the energy from the star is starting to burst back out, so the planet is falling apart. She manages to rescue Finn, and they climb aboard the Millennium Falcon, and they take off. And they go straight to the Rebel base. And the last thing we see is Snoke telling Hux, saying, "Hey, you're gonna bring Kylo Ren to me. It's time to finish his training." Now they make it back to the Rebel base. They complete the map. Deus Ex Machina, really, because R2-D2 wakes up and he has the map, and then and BB-8, BB-7, I can't believe I forgot his name. And they complete the map together, and they find where Luke Skywalker's hiding, and then Rey goes there with Chewbacca, and she meets Luke Skywalker. Luke doesn't say anything. He did 30 seconds on screen, not a word. He just turns around and removes the cloak, and Rey is like, you know, your lightsaber. She doesn't say anything either. It's a silent exchange, and he's just looking at her, and he's like conviction just under there, like, I guess it's time kind of thing. And then the movie ends, directed by J.J. Abrams. Now, that was the whole movie, and it was, again, a really good movie. Lots of comedy, lots of drama. Some things that I had issue with, not a lot really. Like, a lot of the stuff that pisses me off is just my inner nerd that's trying to come out, because again, when I got into Star Wars, when I got into it, I got into the expanded universe, and I fell in love with all of these badass characters, all of these great characters, and to see them like not used at all, like, it feels kind of like, because in my mind, Star Wars like has already happened, like, you know, the Supreme Leader, like, you know, Snoke. I think Snoke is based off of Tarkin. No, not Tarkin. Tren. There was a character in the books. He was another Supreme Leader, and he was blue. What the fuck is his name? My computer's out right now, so I'm not using it. But yeah, there was another guy, and I think Snoke was based off of him. Ben Solo, Kylo Ren, is obviously based off of Jason Solo. Why couldn't they just call him Jason? You know, and Rey, they hint heavily at the fact that Rey is Luke Skywalker's daughter, or his granddaughter. We don't know, but whatever she is definitely a Skywalker. And it's me. She's abandoned and all of that. Like, you purposely leave information about her family out, and then they purposely hint that she is directly related to Luke Skywalker. And I'm hoping that she's like the daughter or the granddaughter or something like that to Luke. I'm hoping that they'll talk about Mara Jade at least a little bit, at least mention her. I don't want it to be like in the original trilogy, how they don't mention Padme at all. She wasn't really necessary to the story, but like just like, oh, you look just like your mother, Mara. I'll take that. Even if we never see Mara in the movies at all, just mention her. She was one of my favorite characters, and they just snuffed her. Oh god, that pisses me off. And another thought that I had. It was mentioned that, you know, Luke had an academy, he's training the new Jedi, and then one of his pupils turned against him and destroyed everything, and that's when he went into seclusion. They kind of hint that it was Kylo Ren, Ben Solo, that did it, but I think it was Supreme Leader Snoke. That's what I'm thinking. Now, I know there's absolutely no connection between Snoke and Luke at all. There's nothing that leads us to believe this, but here's my thought process. They mentioned that they sent Kylo Ren, Ben Solo, to Luke Skywalker to train. So at the time that he was beginning his training, he was, you know, still good. Well, not good. They mentioned that he had a lot of Vader in him, so he was probably like a really dark kid. So at the time that he's being trained by Luke Skywalker, he's still he's being led along the path of light, and they mention that he was seduced to the dark side by Supreme Leader Snoke. How did Supreme Leader Snoke get close enough to Kylo Ren to turn him to the dark side? How? My guess is that Snoke was there, because here's what I'm thinking. If you watch the Rebels TV show, Star Wars Rebels, they focus a lot on the High Inquisitors. And the High Inquisitors are basically other Force sensitives. They're Sith acolytes. They're trained like Sith, but they're not given the title of Sith. They train them in the ways of the Force, and they give them lightsaber and combat training and all of that. They're essentially they're Force sensitive warriors for the Sith. But they don't call them Sith, and they're kind of like second-class citizens to the Sith, and the Sith order them around. Those characters on the show, they call them the High Inquisitors. Mara Jade was one, or Mara Jade wasn't a High Inquisitor. She was the Emperor's hand. She worked directly for Emperor Palpatine, but that was in the comics and the books and all that, so ignore that, I suppose. So, anyway, I think Supreme Leader Snoke was a High Inquisitor. I think he was a High Inquisitor, and he was gathering the masses because they say that he was the Supreme Leader that brought together the he brought together the, what is it called? The First Order. He brought them together. He gave them an organization and all that, and he rose them to prominence. Now, he is a Force-sensitive guy, of course, because he was a Sith acolyte, and I think he probably went through the Emperor's things and managed to recover all sorts of Sith stuff, and he completed his own training, and he brought in his other what do you call them? His fellow I just said their name like 3 times. Fellow High Inquisitors, and he created the Knights of Ren. Now, if you're the leader of this Force-sensitive group and you're raising an army of the First Order, and you hear, oh yeah, Luke Skywalker's actually training Jedi, aren't you going to do like everything in your power to destroy the Jedi before they become powerful enough to combat you? Because there were probably dozens of High Inquisitors fully trained that were already trained to be elite by the Emperor and whoever was training them, and he rose to the level of a Sith Lord. He never called himself a Sith though, because they don't have Darth in their name, so they're not Sith anymore. Sith no longer exists. They're the Knights of Ren now. So he trains them, and oh, Luke is training a bunch of Jedi. I better get in there, see what's up. Say, oh, I'm Force sensitive, blah blah blah, because the Darksiders can hide themselves very well. We saw that with Palpatine. So he infiltrates. He's a higher ranking guy. He gets to know Luke and said, yeah, I was actually trained as a Jedi. I was a Padawan and all of that, but, you know, the Purge happened before. And he infiltrates, and then he meets a young Kylo Ren who's got a little bit of a darkness in him, who wants to be great just like his uncle, like his grandfather. Because Anakin Skywalker was one of the greatest Jedi ever, and he became one of the greatest Sith of all time. Because Darth Vader is one of the greatest Jedi killers of all time, and that's how the Sith measured their greatness. He helped establish an empire, and he killed the most Jedi of all the Sith combined. So he has all of these great people. In the case of Darth Vader, he was terrible, but he was great, and he had these people influence him, and he's like, you know, you can be just like your uncle, you can be just like your grandfather, you can have all of this power, and he seduced him away from the dark side, and together they destroyed the Jedi that Luke Skywalker was building. Luke manages to get away. We don't know what happened with Rey, because we don't know if she was... I'm thinking that she's his daughter. And some Jedi managed to escape and hide her on Jakku. And then your family will come for you, but then he or she managed to die before they could tell Luke where she was. So he thinks he lost his group, his fellow Jedi, and he lost his family. So that's why Luke went into seclusion. Kylo Ren Ben Solo has been seduced into being Kylo Ren, and now he works for the First Order for the Supreme Leader Snoke, because Supreme Leader Snoke he's like the Sith Master. He's the Ren Master. I don't know what to call them, because the Sith were an organization. I don't know what to call this guy. And he trained Kylo Ren and all of that. So I think Supreme Leader Snoke is the guy who betrayed Luke. Technically, it's not betrayal if you were never loyal to begin with, but I think he infiltrated and destroyed everything using Kylo Ren, and like he's the grandson of Darth Vader. Of course, he's going to be a very powerful, very valuable ally. So I think that's what happened. That's just the theory. That's what I'm throwing out there, because I don't believe for a second that somehow Kylo Ren got an email from Supreme Leader Snoke like, hey, kill your fellow Jedi and join me, and he would have been like, okay, like that doesn't make sense to me. It had to have been much more involved, in my opinion. So, what have I talked about? The movie was funny. It was really great. I reviewed it. I talked about what I didn't like. Talked about what I did like. I don't know. I guess that's the end of it. I really enjoyed the film. I'd give it probably like an 8.5 or a 9 out of 10. Remember, no movie is perfect, and this was a really good movie, but it wasn't like a perfect movie. I love Star Wars, but I'm not gonna lie to you guys. If you're asking me, should I go see it in theaters? Should I pay $15 today to go watch it? Yeah, definitely you should. Should you own it when it comes out on Blu-ray? Fuck yes. But am I gonna tell you it's the perfect movie and everyone's gonna love it? No, I think that's something that, like, you know, a lot of people are gonna. Some people are gonna criticize this movie and others are gonna just love it. And like I said, 8.5 to 9, 8.75. That's what I'll give it. High B plus, A minus kind of deal. So those are my thoughts on The Force Awakens, and I will see you guys later.